Hello. Hey, your mic is like a little bit strange. It's Yeah, it's really weird. It like sounds like it's underwater or something. Like it's very hard to hear what you're saying. It might not be plugged. It might not be plugged in all the way or something. It sounds like a bad drive-through microphone. Or-
Fix it.
oh yeah, wait, it might be better now.
Yeah, I guess I was talking through my bone conduction headphones instead of the mic.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, this one sounds good.
Yeah, I guess my trip was good, and then it was nice to see our parents. They were looking after Nevi when I was gone. Then
Yeah.
when I came back, some of the evenings, me, dad, and mom, we watched like Tim Rogers game reviews. Uh, I guess the first one. Actually, I forget which one we watched first, but then we ended up watching his like Doom review because apparently like dad played Doom and liked it at some point. So then Tim
Mhm.
Rogers like really does these like very thorough reviews, and I thought I never had like really looked into Doom so much, but obviously it's like very like in the pop
Yeah, it's like
culture.
yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
classic. I think it was like one of the first person shooters or
yeah,
something. Like I mean, like on whatever system it was on, it was like the first like 3D space as well. I think it was the first 3D first person shooter or something like that, or one of them.
yeah. And he makes a lot of good points about Doom, like how it kind of innovated. Yeah, we watched like the Pac-Man review. He kind of gives like the history and game design of Pac-Man, and then Doom also. Yeah, he says Doom is like very fast and doesn't have like extra stuff. The level design very good.
Hmm.
Uh, and then also then I ended up after they left, I ended up watching the Last of Us review. I never played The Last of Us, but he makes good points once again about the design of The Last of Us and how it contributed to like games that followed it, like took inspiration from it.
Yeah, yeah. There's
And I
I don't know
found
if
that.
you're. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I just want to say then he mentions like the best game of all time in one of these reviews and how he wrote like an article about it. And I found on the Wayback, like it's not on his website anymore, but on the Wayback Machine, there's his review of the best game of all time, which is called Another World. And I found it. It's like a Super Nintendo game that uh, yeah, it's kind of a simple game and you sort of subtly interact to sort of like keep the animated movie going in some way throughout the game. And if you don't, like, it's kind of like Inside in a way where if you don't do the correct action, then your character dies and you try to just like progress as far as you can.
Mm.
Uh, and his review is pretty interesting for that game. So I bought it was only $2, like on sale for $2 on Steam. So I now own the best game of all time for $2.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with like when we were talking about Doom, I thought about there's like companies like Limited Run and stuff like that that do like re-releases of like re-releases of like physical copies of games.
uh, the
So there's like
consoles as well. Those companies.
yeah. Yeah, like they do like Xbox and PS5 and like Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. So like some games that you can only get
Oh, I
digitally now,
see. Right.
they'll
Yeah.
do like a limited run of like physical copies of that game that
Oh,
so you can have like a disc even if it's not actually like a disc game at all.
that's cool.
Cuz like yeah. Yeah, there was I don't know if it was limited run but Tyler has a copy of Doom that looks like it's on a floppy disk, but it's actually like a USB drive, like on a
Huh.
USB drive on what looks like a floppy disk or something like that. Yeah, it's funny.
That's a good idea that they had. Yeah, to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
I
kind of have like a
yeah.
love for like older physical media like that, like floppy disks and stuff like that. Like even though they're kind of like useless now, like now it almost feels like it's like an art form, like somebody made this and it was so good at the time, like it was the best thing ever, like but now it's like, yeah, like thinking back on it, it is like somebody did like a pretty amazing like mathematical work of art to make to create something that could do something for us. Like so it's kind of like in that way. I like it when things can be like it's like I like the idea of like buying a retro computer and like being able to play a game like on the retro like software and hardware itself, like for that purpose.
Yeah,
Just like
that does
yeah.
seem yeah, it seems all very magical. Now we sort of take it's very easy to take technology for granted these days, but when it's so
Mhm.
like physical and you hear like the sounds inside it like clicking and like it's very clear like it needs power and the screen is like being drawn. Uh yeah, it's all very like wow, this is like a mechanical system that was built that clearly like uh is like a certain size and capability and
Yeah.
that it yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
And
be
nobody sort
funny,
of
like yeah.
yeah, the fact that, like, they built the computer and no one saw that one of the uses would be a totally random, like, making Doom on it is just such an unexpected evolution of this general purpose, like, computing machine.
Yeah. It
Pretty
makes
it
me
shows, like
wanna,
yeah,
like
unexpected.
it makes me wanna, like, rent out rent out, like, a 1960s, like, analog space and then do, like, a LARP, like a 1960s LARP and see how many people show up with, like, shirts with, like, pencil protectors or whatever, or, like, pen protectors in the pockets and stuff.
How many pens that's the measurement of how good the event is, like, how many pens are being protected in the
Yeah,
pockets.
yeah. Yeah, it's like 'cause I'm thinking about how, like, it's like a way of like, using that old technology is kind of like it's kind of like LARPing, I guess, like, how people like, when they do, like, medieval LARPing, it's like they're using all the old technology and, like, the systems at the time and stuff, and it's like, yeah, I guess technically you could LARP, like, but, like, just LARP, like, the beginning of the technology era or something too. I wonder if that's gonna get, like, more popular as we get away from it because it is, like, still easily recreatable.
Be cool to have a whole, like, VR experience, like, being if you wanna be, like, fully immersed, you could even sort of, like, start the game in, like, a 1960s, like, home and go to, like, an office complex and have, like, a mystery with floppy disks and computing hardware,
Yeah, that'd
or
be
even,
cool,
like,
like
play yeah.
yeah, like a almost like an escape room or something, but it could be like an escape
Oh,
region.
yeah, like, a physical escape room would be cool, yeah. Yeah, you could
Yeah,
actually have, like, an old I guess, like, original hardware working in the escape room. You could, like, solve a puzzle on the computer in the escape room. That'd be
yeah.
neat.
Oh, that would be cool if, like
Mhm.
I wonder if, like, if you could do that or if, you would get, like, stopped by local authorities somehow if you tried to, like, set up a game. I guess this is on my mind because I was watching this, like, I think it's called, like, Play Culture or something. There's some channel on YouTube called Play Culture where a guy puts together, like, physical games that you can play, like, in cities and stuff like that. And I was just thinking, like, what if you set up people, like, that are playing a game like at border checkpoints and stuff like that. And then like they just only have anything to do with the other people that are playing the game. And then you could do like an escape room, but on like a very massive like regional scale or something too. That would be really cool. But that would
Yeah,
be
I guess
like
you could
nuts.
start with maybe, like, rent, like, a park or something, a park that has maybe some buildings so that you have,
Yeah.
like, a yeah, you need to, like, rent a building and an outdoor space, uh, and then maybe you could sort of, yeah, play on I guess you can
Yeah.
rent
Yeah, like
you could rent
the way that channel that I was talking about does it, like I guess they just use public spaces, like and I don't really know if they rent them or something. I think they just let the security know like hey, we're going to be playing tag basically like in this public space. So if you see people like sneaking around, just like it's just us because they like all dress a certain way. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it makes me think of how, like, Hollywood somehow can build, like, stages. I don't know if they're called sound stages or just, like, stages, but, like, indoors, they build, like, whole sets inside warehouses, and I feel like they can do it so fast, and they can, like, furnish things as well, and I wonder
Yeah.
what's the total cost? I wonder if you wanted to rent like a large warehouse and have them build like a small town setting inside of it with like some roads and houses and backyards and like all furnished. Some stuff could be fake or something, some furniture.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or like, I guess like in like PS1, PS2 era games and like Xbox 360 games where like you could only enter into certain buildings because like that was where the production was at. Like you could basically just rent a bunch of different Airbnbs in a city or something and like a few different public locations and then be like, yeah, the game is in this city and like you kind of have to like you could still say like you have to find the places on your own. Like you could just go to like any park, but it might not be the park that's being rented by the people that are putting on the game sort of thing. But like I guess like with the Airbnbs or like the like hotel locations rented, like that would be you wouldn't want people to try to check randomly if they could like enter into someone's house because it might be an Airbnb or something. But like you could mark them somehow so that it's like, oh, if you actually show up to the location and find the front door, then like there'll be a notice on the door like, yes, you found it, so that like they don't break into random people's houses or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole blending of reality and like AR and mixed reality. I wonder if that will catch on more, well, where everybody has like technology that can sort of separate like true reality from, because then you could sort of have like a citywide like role play going on where if you say certain keywords like at a Starbucks, then they'll respond in a certain way, like in
Mm.
character. And even like your whole job and everything could have like a role play component to it that's all like integrated, or like the post office and everything. Uh,
Yeah.
and then it would just, but that would kind of make like society more fun. Like if you're bored at any time, you can kind of just like engage in this much more interesting stuff where there's like fake challenges that everyone agrees to. So it feels like you're earning points or accomplishing missions or something instead of just instead of just like walking around downtown, kind of like wondering if there's anything fun to do. You could
Mm.
start finding clues or like talk in like interrogate people, post what they say like online, and other people can like find like benefit from those clues, and it would be kind of
Yeah.
interesting. There'd be like reasons like you could travel to another country just to like investigate some kind of clue or meet up with like somebody, and you'd have like a reason. Like not only would you just get to travel which is normal, but also feel like you have like a mission or something.
Yeah, it's like we're just like describing like regular scientific research projects now. It would be cool to do something like that though. I've thought for a while, but I have like such a varying like interest when it comes to things like that, and like no like formal education in any like sciencey science like biology or anything like that. Even though like I'd be interested in something like entomology or like something to do with like animals and like yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's like I'm way more interested in like the format of going places and like learning things by like observation than I am like I guess academia, like because it feels like the academia that I experienced maybe in like university was like very, and high school even was like very much like just reading books about things and like not going and doing things, and like the people that I see that do the best in those settings seem to be just going and doing. So it's like, well, I'll just like I'd rather go and do. Yeah, I was thinking
That
recently
reminds
about
me of
maybe.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I was thinking recently like trying to think of like the next place that I would want to travel to, and I was thinking like maybe like yeah like Newfoundland or Norway or something like that. Which I think actually Newfoundland and Norway are pretty close together, so maybe I could do both at once.
Yeah, I'd have to look at, or sometimes I just don't know enough about a place. Like in theory, it seems like a foreign, interesting place where it's like surely I would run into fascinating history, but also maybe the closer I zoom in, maybe I would have to plan out like where are the stuff that I know about, and like, is it just like you take a bus to a parking lot and then you get out and there's a bunch of people taking photos of a thing, and then you just kind of feel like, well, I didn't really like I would want to stay at like a hotel downtown and then sort of slowly realize like that, that thing that I've heard of, or that interesting looking like church or something like that is all around me, and then I just start like walking and exploring from the hotel. It would feel more like a quest where I'm sort of like figuring out, like sort of piecing together like different interesting things about the city. But then it's kind of like it gets boring if you start to just get too familiar. Like it's like, oh, there's like the restaurant, the road, the parking lot. It starts to feel like, oh, this isn't like a magical, mysterious place. It's just like a bunch of people going to and from work. And then there's like a sort of the touristy historical museum or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to find like pockets of culture of people doing things that is like not working.
Yeah.
I guess yeah, Tyler was mentioning like he was like, yeah, whenever we go somewhere, like we should check to see if there's like a festival or something that's going on and like try to do that at the same time. And like that sounds like a pretty good idea. I think like at some point I'd like
Yeah.
to try visiting like places in Europe, and like around Christmas time seems to be like a pretty like popular time for festivals there. So even though like I'd like to see those places in the summertime, it seems like if I'd want to do like a cultural tour of like the cities, then like wintertime is almost like better because like more people I guess want to come together in the wintertime there than in the summertime because they're like outside less and stuff like that in the winter.
Yeah, I found one place I found kind of cool was like in Zurich. There's a big train station. There's like a outdoor public pedestrian sort of like road with restaurants and stuff in the center of downtown. And then there's like a train station. And I got the impression that there's at least like 5 fascinating smaller towns that you can quickly take the train to from that central station for like not too much money.
Yeah.
And then those other towns, like I learned that this one like Nordic bath house, well, it's called like thermal baths, like bathhouse chain. It has like a sort of a different bathhouse in like many of these different smaller cities. So that sort of gave me like I didn't go to any of the other cities. I was doing other stuff. But if I went back there, I feel like, I would spend like a week, and then each day I would take the train to like a different smaller town. And like my routine would be like go to the bathhouse, like go for a walk around. And like, for example, one of the smaller towns was like where like Einstein was from or something. And so that's kind of a
Yeah.
cool like touch point. And so I feel like I could branch outward from there, where like, you know, every day or every second day would be like kind of an interesting hike, time in a bathhouse, some kind of restaurant, and then like a train trip like to and from the town. And that pattern would feel kind of interesting. Uh, just sort of seeing like a fresh, small countryside town with just sort of walking on like semi-forested trails, like on the outskirts of towns, in sort of a
Yeah.
hiking area. Yeah, that feels sort of like true. It feels like being outside. I guess the only thing is there's nobody. It's kind of like lonely unless you're like traveling with somebody. There's also like you're not gonna like run into anyone and do any activities. It's just sort of like silently walking around towns, like observing them. That's the missing piece. Is like I always wish there was a faster way to just sort of like engage with people in more of a like a low energy way, just meet
Yeah.
up and learn about, yeah, like their experience or something, without like randomly talking to strangers or something.
Yeah, I guess like festivals are a good way to explore that too, because like they know that like outsiders generally show up to learn about the culture, or like usually it's like cultural activities that they have at them, and like people are pretty open to sharing them.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be cool if maybe there is some kind of website, just like a Google Maps, but it shows like all the different, like you could sort of filter by like the kind of festivals or conventions that one is like interested in. Like all, let's
Yeah.
say like all the like all the anime conventions, all of the like tech or retro gaming conventions, and it just like spreads them out on a map of the world and shows you like the dates for each of them, like the regular dates.
Yeah.
Then you could see, yeah, that'd be cool to find like maybe three that happen or something in Europe, and then make a trip where you end up like kind of traveling a bit and seeing like three different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like in like more Asian countries and stuff like that, like there seems to be like food markets and stuff like that seem to be like a pretty
Yeah,
constant like cultural status quo that stays there. I guess like most bigger cities have, in my experience anyway, have an area called like the market, even if there's not like market stuff going on there all the time. But like, yeah, yeah, I
yeah, the
guess
food thing is
markets
interesting.
are good, but like it's yeah, yeah. The word market is like just strange to me because like it also makes me think of like farmers markets, which are like not the same vibe at all as like a food market in Asia or something like that. It's like not. I would say they're less social in my experience than like yeah, like a food market or like yeah, like a downtown market or something.
Yeah,
So the
and
word yeah.
sometimes like if there's a market with so much good food, you just sort of know like you can try like one thing, and it's like who has time to sample everything, but being surrounded by like so many good things that you want to eat, it's sort of just like calculating like how much time would I need to spend like getting hungry again to like eat the next thing. uh that it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. It's sort of like you're surrounded by like so many interesting things. It's just sort of like if they made everything smaller so that in like a day or two you could try like one or two bites of each thing, for like a and then you wouldn't have to pay for like a full meal or like
Yeah.
a expensive
Yeah, like I
dessert or
remember
something.
there was like you showed us those like miso balls that somebody was making like down
Mm.
at by the harbor at one point. And like
Oh
that's
yeah, those ones. Yeah.
like yeah, like that would be a good example of something that like would be good at like a food market or something. I guess that was a food market that we were at when we went there too.
Yeah,
But yeah, I guess like
that one almost was there. Yeah, because there's like tiny pies and stuff. But then even then, it would be nice if there was like one, but like if everything was like sort of truffle or double truffle size, where it's like one or two
yeah.
bites, and also priced accordingly, like $2, $3. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. I guess like you would have to try to get everybody kind of in on the culture, that same market culture being like, hey, like instead of all of us selling a loaf of bread, why don't we all slice our loaves of bread and then only sell one slice to each customer and then they have to buy from all of us
Yeah.
like
You could
like
even like you buy like tokens on the way in, and then like every vendor just like knows that they need to sell something for like one token, and
yeah,
then
I've
they can
actually
exchange like the token will be like $2. Yeah.
yeah, I've seen a market that works that way recently on YouTube. Um,
Uh,
it's yeah, it's somewhere in like Japan or Asia or something. But it's yeah, like some like uh I think it was like a really retro currency of that area or something that they're using. And it's yeah, it's a pretty cool idea. Cause yeah, the
yeah, it would just be
token
neat to
thing, like
like yeah, I would want to like walk the aisles. If I see something good, I just like hand someone a token. They hand me the thing, like no words exchanged. Just like I see a good thing to eat, I eat it, I move on. One bite per thing.
yeah.
Or they just need to build like cosmic adventures for adults, some like large scale, and
Yeah,
then
pretty
combine
much.
that with.
Yeah, I guess like movie theaters are pretty similar to that right now because they have like at least here they have like arcades in them as well. So it's like instead of like going and playing into Jungle Gym, you like go and watch a movie and then you can play at the arcade and then there's like also food, but like the food is kind of really unhealthy. Yeah. But I guess that is at Cosmic Adventures too, so it is a pretty good direct comparison.
Remember, there's that YouTube video that was reviewing that like fantasy land where it was like it's like constant like cosplay kind of, and everybody's role
Oh,
play or like cosplay role play.
Yeah.
Like there's that Jenna or something on
Yeah,
YouTube.
Jenny Nicholson, I think, yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because those ideas like seem almost like they're kind of unique in that there's not really any place you can go. Like it would kind of be cool if there was like I know sometimes some like Asian escape rooms have like live actors, but if they combined it so that like instead of like timed escape rooms, if you just like you show up to the escape room place wherever it is and you just like you pay like $20 to enter for the day and there's always like a stream of people going in and out and like every day there would sort of be like a different puzzle to solve within certain parameters where like you'd have to like solve some puzzle to get a token from some character to bring that token to another character and they would even give you like some food or something for the token and that would sort of be like completing that day where and it would take maybe like about an hour to like work through and they could have uh like rotating puzzles for like a month and then reveal like the new puzzles like once a month they would rotate the puzzles somehow and then you could always just like unless you like there'd be like four sort of variations that toggle like Monday to Friday throughout the month and then you could always just kind of drop by and just sort of be presented with this like social situation you have to sort of work your way through and you could help other people would be like what's today's puzzle you could sort of tell them what you know and uh it'd sort of just be like a reason to like spend some time walking around trying to figure stuff out and then you get like a little dessert or something at the end.
Yeah. Yeah,
I wonder, yeah, this
I
it's
like trying to
fascinating
think of,
trying to
like
work out something. Yeah, trying to work out like the business model, the sustainable, like how to communicate it to people, like what people understand today, and
yeah.
but like push them a little bit so it's a new thing that they don't really understand, but try to frame it as like an interactive escape room, like a group interactive escape room that's always kind of running each day.
Yeah. Yeah, I like trying to think of stuff like that too, where it's like something that like gets people to socialize and communicate, but like on a level that like is not too like personal or emotional. Like something that like gets people to have like a sense of togetherness and like they're doing the same thing like out of their own free will, but also something that doesn't make people feel like forced into a group with people that they don't want to be in with or like forced to yeah, like have social interactions that are like just off the cuff for like shock value purposes or something like that. Like I feel like a lot of people could benefit from like just laser tag, like like where it's like
Yeah.
they're all doing the same thing, like but it's not like okay, but like we have to get really emotional about it. Like it's like no, like it's like we're all just here to play this game, like, and it's not like nobody wants to hurt anybody, and like that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah, it would sort of be like actually I saw that Laser Quest in Ottawa became Laser Max and I looked up that it seemed like during COVID the previous chain went bankrupt and then the manager of that location, like I guess Laser Quest was a franchise and so now the manager's like running Laser Max and he's talking about just doing sort of running it as like a cultural service in the community and
Oh
just
yeah,
kind of trying to make enough to like keep it going.
that's really cool
It
to
was
me.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird reading the article
I feel like
like
when you
it was
run a business
yeah.
like that, you can see the like positive cultural effects that it has on the community because like it's basically like a sport that gets people to engage with each other and then like you see families get to know each other and like friendships grow and stuff like that. Like I feel like it would be sad to like see a business like that die. It feels like it would give somebody a certain amount of like personal fulfillment to do that sort of business.
Yeah, definitely like tied in. There's like the whole like 90s vibe of like a two-story Laser Quest arena that has like it's like a certain price point and a whole like the smell and the vibe and like the weight of the vests and stuff all seems kind of uh
Nostalgic or something,
like
yeah.
but in like a level of quality that kind of disappeared and now like
Yeah.
every arcade is like gotcha machines and the prices don't make sense and the tickets don't really work. uh
Yeah, it's like if there is laser tag, it's like very much like like a
Yeah.
stockpile bot mechanic, and then like the room is just like shitty like office blinders or
Yeah.
something like that. Like yeah.
That's why it's surprising. Like every escape room I've ever seen is like completely unique puzzles, theming. It's weird to have like the high bar for quality for like every escape room, and
Yeah.
like yeah, it sort of seems like just combine laser tag with escape rooms. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Or you could just have an arcade so big that it's large enough for people to play laser tag in it because they're encountering each other so little. It's like you will
Yeah, like
encounter
you
people
yeah.
in this laser tag habitat hangar so little that you're gonna want to just like hang around and play this game a little bit while you wait or something.
That'd be neat, like an arcade where they give you like a little laser pistol when you enter, and as you just play in the arcade, there's like targets like around the ceiling and stuff that would show up, and
Yeah.
you could like get a ticket for like shooting them when they show up.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But yeah,
Yeah, I saw that there's a Kidzania thing that you put into the chat as
yeah, we
well. Is
came
that like
across that. It was just something we randomly saw on the trip, and we asked if we could like go in and look at it, and they said no. You have to have like a kid with you.
oh
But if
it's
you
like
look at the
yeah,
Google, yeah, if you look at the Google, like I'd heard about it before. There's different franchises of these in different countries, but if you look at the photos, like it really is like a tiny kid-sized town. And I've heard that like you can, as a kid, you can like go there and you can like be a firefighter, and like different buildings will have like a fire alarm, and you can drive your tiny kid fire truck like to the other building. It
oh
seems
it's
like
cool.
quite a yeah, like they have quite a deep like city simulation running that kids can just kind of like take part in, and sometimes like a
That
class,
seems
like a school would do a trip there and run jobs or something.
that seems like a really good idea, yeah.
Yeah, I watched a YouTube video on like the person that came up with the original idea, and then someone else like his co-founder like had a different vision and branched off, and there was like some fighting back and forth. Uh, so now there's like Kid Zania and Kid Mania or something like that are in different places.
That's funny. I wonder if it's like one of them is capitalist and one of them is communist. And like the cities are like operating differently that way. So it's like and it's like they're eventually just gonna have a war.
Yeah,
The
the
two
two yeah
children's
they're
the two kid
the
cities.
two government kid-run governments that like a nuclear standoff.
It's like we didn't know how organized the kid cities would be. They're actually the biggest threat. They just become like geopolitical places on maps because they're like so much of a world
Yeah.
power after like 7 months or something. That's funny.
But yeah, now uh yeah, I had rough plans to like try to write like a Halo hip hop, and then I went for a decent walk yesterday. I found some like forest areas kind of near where I live, but I like walked for like 2 hours to get to this pretty good forest. Then when I came out of it, I searched like bus directions back to town, and the first bus was like Monday, like it was a Saturday, and the next
Yeah,
bus was on like a Monday, and it's sort of like really like there's no bus from this town on the weekend at all. You just can't, and they have like a good forest walking area, and there just isn't bus
yeah.
service.
That sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird.
It's like it's almost worth, I think, like national parks just to start running their own bus programs. Like I'm sure if they did,
Yeah.
they might even people would go there more often enough that they wouldn't mind giving them more funding.
Yeah,
Because
there's a special bus.
like casinos have their own free bus programs, so why don't the national parks?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a bus that called like the Trailhead Direct that only runs from like May to July, and it's like 275. But it just is like a regular city bus that takes you a little bit further out to like some hiking trails. So maybe I will end up using that bus. I'll
Mm.
try to like. It's just kind of weird that they don't just run it something like that all the time. You have to
Yeah.
sort of like know about it and find it, and it's like a special limited service. And yeah, it's just a weird. It's weird how they don't advertise stuff like that more and make it more clear like where it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like public transit is, like, one of the key ways to optimize a city. So, it's, like, strange when there's not, like, publication about it.
Yeah, yeah, because that's pretty fun. Uh, to go, yeah, like on a vacation to go to a new city and just kind of make use of the public transit. It makes it
Yeah.
feel like the city's like much larger, and you're like the city like wants you to visit and will have like plans how to get you from one place to another. You don't have to like fight the city
Yeah.
or
Yeah, and there
have
is, like,
downtime. Yeah.
yeah, there is, like, different, like,
Mm.
cultural experiences too that you get on, like, public transit. Like, you kind of experience, like, whether
Yeah.
people are, like, quiet on transit all the time or, like, if they're, like, very jovial and, like, saying hello really loudly to each other or something like that too, like and, like, if yeah, like, just the flow of traffic as well, like, if people, like, honk culturally differently. Like, some places they'll, like, honk way, way more, and some places they, like, won't. So it's, like, just the cacophony of transit is, like, a thing that's different when it's, like, public transit, I guess.
Mm.
I always wanted to try, like, a rickshaw or, like, a one of those, like, bike pulled, like, caddies.
Yeah. Whenever I see them, they're on like a really crowded sidewalk, and it's sort of like, do you want to get into this like like behind a bike little towing thing and just for
Yeah.
the next like 30 minutes, just like be like really nervous that the guy's gonna hit somebody. And then also like you're like right like every time you like come around somebody or like go too close to them, you're like also right there and you're like sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it always feels dangerous whenever there's, like, a personal interaction in a city like that. Like, if I was ever to travel alone, like, I still feel, like, nervous doing, like, Ubers alone and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
because it feels like at any point, like, somebody could just be, like, a scam artist. Like, that's kinda just the way the world works, like, but if you're getting onto, like, a bus, like, the likelihood of the bus driver being a scam artist scamming the 50 people on the bus is, like, much, much less. Like, I'm sure
Or
there's
like on a
cases where that's
train.
happened, but yeah.
Like they build like a secret scam like track for the train, and they
Yeah,
like
just like
drive.
a
It's like
fake yeah,
wait,
like a fake underground subway entrance that goes to a fake subway that takes you to, like, a
uh,
fake scam city with its own economy, like, you don't even know that you've entered into, like, a different city that just looks like your own, but it's like, now your money's
it's
just in their economy.
yeah. You go into Kid Zania and you're like suddenly everyone's a kid and they just play off like they're not and they start robbing you and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of the going into like a subway and a fake city, it reminds me of this movie I want to watch called Exit 8, and it's like a horror movie where the entire movie is shot in like this one hallway inside of a subway station, and the whole plot in the trailer you can see is that like he can't get out, like it's sort of like a looping hallway, and there's like these instructions on the wall that are like sort of telling you how to exit, but they say stuff like just continue until you see like an anomaly, and if you do, turn back the other way. And uh, I think the whole point is that like the five or so instructions, if you follow them, like they do lead you out, but you can see that like the stuff that happens is like creepy. So I think that's how he keeps getting like derailed. But then it's called Exit 8 because the final step is like exit, exit at the 8, like exit at 8 or something
Yeah.
like that. Uh,
It's
but I
interesting. Yeah,
thought
I
it
know
was.
I think it's
Someone
based
said it
on a
was good
game,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, it is based on a game. I never heard the game or the movie, but it was
I saw
MinMax
some
that
people do
recommended it.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I saw some people do, like, playthroughs of the game and stuff like that. I think that's probably where they generated the funding for the movie, but it is, like, it's like one of those liminal space ideas, I guess, but, like, the
yeah,
liminal space is like, a subway station. It's kind of funny how liminal spaces work that way, where, like, for somebody that didn't grow up with those spaces around, like, for me, like, underground subway systems are, like, not something it's like something that I have only experienced when traveling. So
Oh yeah.
like traveling like on vacation, not like in my own city sort of thing. So like the idea of like a subway station like still seems kind of like novelty to me, and not like it gives me like less of like a creepy liminal space vibe like than the
Yeah, it's
office liminal
more. Yeah,
space
it
like the
feels
back
like
rooms
future.
does.
It's
Yeah.
fascinating because a lot of them are like kind of old. Like the systems were built a while ago, but then for us, like in North America, it represents like the future. It's like, wow, an underground like tunnel to a train is like the future, but it was actually like 30, 40 years ago in those cities. So then walking in them is like this weird combination of like all the tile patterns and the technology and stuff is like old, but this is like really impressive and like better urban design than we've seen in our country. So it's kind of a weird thing. It's like, wait, this like civilization, like their like 20-year-old subway lines are like the future in terms of our like urban
Yeah.
planning. But
Yeah,
it's
and
the
like
past. It's like digging up like ruin. It's like sort of like finding like ruins of like subway tunnels that still function, and then just realizing like, wait, this still works.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the actual reality, real day mines of Moria or something like where it's like this like at this grand underground tunnel system that like we just don't even really acknowledge as being like something like that. Actually, like I think like I want to say like the mines of Moria were based on like there's like this salt mine in like Poland
Mm.
that was made like in the medieval area or era, and they have like actual statues that are like really crazy carved. Like they have like chapels like carved out of salt like inside the salt
Well,
mine because the salt mine's so huge. Yeah. It's like one of the places that I'd be interested in traveling to visit sometime because like yeah, I had no idea that this salt mine existed. Like apparently there's a really huge salt mine under I think like Lake Erie as well, which I had no idea about. Like
mm,
mines mines and like underground infrastructure like yeah, that's something that I find like that's like it's like so much grander to create than just building a building on the surface of the planet. Like it's like it feels like probably twice the amount of engineering has to go into putting something like underground. But like it feels like they're kind of just observed as like, yeah, we made that. And it's like, yeah, but like I want to
yeah.
go there and see that. Like that's crazy that like I haven't like it's taken like until 30 like year 30 in my life basically like that until I heard about this like crazy salt mine that exists on our
Yeah.
planet. Like it's like this should
Yeah, it's
be I
like,
think it
couldn't you just make it like a laser quest thing and then make more money than the salt mine made, surely? It's like
yeah.
that would be a crazy laser. Like you go down in like a 1 mile elevator, like underground to like a fluorescent laser tag thing that just is like gigantic. And there's like chapels like in the laser quest, like
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, you could make like if you got like everybody it's like everybody that was a business owner that experienced the personal gratification of what it was like to own a laser business, like they should like combine into yeah, into like a business that buys out like a mine or something and then just create like a almost like a religious ode to laser questing. Like yeah, it would be like multiple floors that go like down and then yeah, like chapels and things like that, like bright neon like fluorescent chapels.
Do you think like you have like a slight fear of like larger spaces? What about like a large chapel or like an interesting, like if you're in like a fascinating like cave like that or something that like
Yeah.
maybe the mine would open up? Like that seems interesting. So do you think that sometimes like the beauty or the interest could override the fear, or like what
It's
if you like
a
want to see the place?
yeah, I feel like I have like megalophobia that has to do with like large spaces like that that like it feels like the comprehension of me being inside the space is like the issue. Like I'd be like more comfortable in trapped inside like a small tank than I would an incredibly large tank. Like I have less claustrophobia than I do megalophobia. But like it does seem to diminish, I guess, depending on like how industrial the space is and things like that. Like I've been inside like really
Mm.
large like basilicas and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
like those don't really give me like the same sense of megalophobia. I think if I did like I saw like a tour that you did once where it's like you were like up near the
Yeah.
roof or like the dome. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Like something that has to do with being near like the wall of the container has to like do with it a little bit too. I think probably because of like the way that sound reverberates, like I can hear like I can auditorily start to process how large the space is when I'm like near a surface. So like
Yeah.
that freaks me
Yeah,
out.
I
Like
felt that.
it's something
Yeah, I
like
can
really
sense
psychological.
that,
Like
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I can tell, like, which spaces, like, invoke, like, more of, like, an energy inside me, which would, like, translate to, like, a fear. I feel like, yeah, uh, I have a little bit of a fear of, like, like, if a large space is kind of, like, filled with water or something, I feel like
Yeah, water makes it
that gets
worse a little bit.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like,
That almost feels like like a good backrooms level would be like large, dimly lit like pools of water, and then that would like be scary because yeah, just not
yeah.
being able to see like where you're if you're like walking, you're like
Yeah, I
this is
would
like a seems
suggest
like a large space. Yeah,
yeah, there's a horror game called Still Wakes the Deep that, I played, I have, like, a playthrough of it on YouTube, where they
right.
do yeah, they do, like, kind of like megalophobia spaces. It's, like, on an oil rig in the ocean, um, and, like, that one is, like, really scary. But, yeah, I find, like, I can
Did you
hand
play it intentionally like to because it plays into your fear?
yeah. Yeah, like, I get pretty scared in it. I kind of, like, overhype the personality of being scared, like, when I'm doing that kind of media, though, so, like, I feel like I would react differently if it was in person. But, like, it's like, I do, like yeah, it's like I'm not trying to, like, hide the fact that I'm scared when I'm playing the game, because like, that's kind of the point of me playing that, I
Yeah,
think, for me was, like, I'm scared, and I don't wanna be like, "I'm not scared." I wanna be like, "No, this is the fear that I have," and, like, this game did a really good job at, like, pinpointing that. Yeah, because they do like one of the things with that game too is like to use headphones with it because it's they do like the sound design is like really well done, especially in the large spaces, and like that seems to be something that sets off like that fear specifically for me anyway. Is like the actual like sound of the large space being like recreated accurately. Like yeah, I guess it like
oh
adds
yeah,
to like the comprehension of uh the enormity or like the gravity of the space and like the potential danger of like collapse or like just being like confined to an area where something dangerous could happen and then like not and then having like very little route of escape or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. That's cool. I wonder if one could like sort of learn to like tap into that, like if you could end up like sort of channeling that to get energy to make like a very creative like backrooms or something like so let's say backrooms style like horror game or something where
Yeah,
uh
that's something that interests
yeah
me a little bit. Like whenever I experience fear, it seems to set off like a reaction of wanting to almost like study it to produce like some sort of art or something. Like
yeah
that seems to be like the healthiest way to approach like psychological fear. Like I think for anybody is like to like take that and then like produce like reproduce your feeling in a way that is like recognizable by other people without having to resurface the whole experience for everyone sort
yeah
of thing. Yeah, because there's like a very like I think there's like when it comes to like psychologically like scary experiences like there's like people I guess in those realms of things like people experience like trauma pretty easily and like something like common about trauma is that like the more that you like re-experience it or like the more that you're reminded of it the more like psychological harm it can do sometimes to some people so but like it's still healthy to like acknowledge like the fears like the inherent like psychological fears and stuff that like those experiences give you but like not in a way where it's like you're remembering exactly what happened every time. It's just like, oh, I remember that like I am a person that is like afraid of this, and like sometimes it is just like inherent human fears. But I think uh like a lot of people like experience like water is one of them because like a lot of people like it's just very a statistically high number of people have like experiences where they almost drown or something like that. So like people have these like shared traumas where like they don't want to like emotionally have to like re-remember the thing, but like they do feel a shared human connection that helps them overcome that fear or that like trauma if they connect with people on it in a way where it's like they feel like that fear is like normalized almost, I guess, and like it helps them work together to like make
Mm.
that a safer space for everyone that has that like experienced fear. Yeah,
Yeah, that
fear
makes
like
sense. Yeah.
interests me quite a bit, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. One This is reminding me of like Tim Rogers often talks about how he like remembers everything that ever happened to him, and he sort of does kind of demonstrate that in his reviews sometimes, where he gives like he explains through his past life about like the details of what that is. But then also
That's like
one of
so
like
that's
the
like a really interesting claim. I don't know
yeah
Tim Rogers. Like this is I it's possible that I heard about him in the past, but I don't remember everything that ever happened to me. So but like it seems like that's a very interesting thing to claim because if you wouldn't know, like I feel like you wouldn't know. Like he would have to have undergone some sort of test where somebody else has also been through everything and knows everything. Like unless he's been recording his whole life, there's no way to verify that he remembers everything that's ever happened to him. And if he forgot, then he wouldn't remember that he forgot. Like it could be that he's just
yeah
never had the experience of forgetting things. But what if he forgets something and never remembers that thing again? Then he would just never have the knowledge of forgetting.
yeah. There seems to be, it just seems, as far as I can tell, like because he can do like very he's like one of those people that can do like math to like sort of an arbitrary number of decimal points like in his
Oh,
head,
okay.
or
Yeah.
he can like he played when he played The Last of Us, he was like, I'm gonna count in my head like all the different battles that you fight versus humans versus like zombies, and he sort of claims to have like just counted that in his head without like referring back. He remembers like dates and what like exactly what people said in certain, but of course you can't like verify what they said.
Yeah.
But then he also he said when he was a kid he would just like he had a perfect sense of timing, so he would just like turn the commercials off when they started and then turn the TV back on when they ended, and he would be like really accurate with that.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, who knows? But he claims that he refers to it as a like a disease almost, because
I can see that.
he
Yeah.
says like he'll think, it's like when he thinks back on a memory he relives it like I
Yeah, like
exactly.
he would
Yeah,
experience trauma,
re-experience.
like the psychological
Yeah, that's what
effects
I
of
was
trauma.
thinking. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
if he had something traumatic or scary, it's like he just be equally as scared whenever he thought about it. And then it sort of seems like that would kind of be an interesting, like
I
those people
guess
are kind of vulnerable, right? Like we can heal over
yeah.
time from like traumatic
Yeah.
things, they can't, and that's like a vulnerable, like they almost like wouldn't want certain information to get to them because they would
Yeah.
never
I
forget.
think it's like yeah, I think it is like a known fact that people with like genius level like intelligence and memory almost have an issue with like their emotional memory. Like they kind of have like CPTSD like because they have such a good memory. Like
Yeah.
yeah, and and like also like when you get I feel like people that get that smart and have memories that are that good, like usually and they're like known people, they usually end up in roles where they're like exposed to a lot of science that has like hurt people and like that affects them emotionally as well because like they're usually people that care very deeply about other people but like and like that's the reason that they're going into science and things like that to try to make the world a better place but then like upon doing that you are exposed to the knowledge of like, oh yeah, like this is what tobacco did to the whole world, and like, but at one time scientists were saying it's okay, and it's like culturally you kind of have to feel like you're joining a group of people that has caused harm to the world because you're like making decisions based on your own intelligence that could be wrong. So it's like I feel like it would be like a strange role to put yourself in. Like there's strange shoes to try to like think from the perspective of, because it's like yes, you're smarter than everybody. You're like more like emotionally intelligent than other people because you can remember the emotions that are attached to like actions that people do, so like you can have like a better like emotional foresight on the world. But then like you also have the knowledge that like nobody else is like that or like you like that, so like it would feel like
Yeah.
isolating. Like I think it would feel like pretty isolating because like people, you just see people make like the wrong decisions or like decisions, and it's like, don't you remember that thing we studied 10 years ago and we saw the same thing, and like
Yeah.
everybody else around you is like, no.
Yeah, he
So
gave one time he gave an example where he's like I worked for this company where like every morning we would do like a stand up and everyone would say what they're working on, and he's
yeah.
like I never understood because couldn't everyone just remember what everyone else was working on? Like why would we repeat it every
Yeah.
day?
Yeah, I feel like it would get, yeah, emotionally isolating because like you would remember things about people and they wouldn't remember them about you as well. Like it would feel like you're trying harder than other people maybe, or it would like, if unless you had the perspective that other people don't work the same way as you, like you would think that people just don't care about you as much as you care about other people, but like in reality, like memory is not necessarily caring. It's just an extremely useful tool for caring, and not everybody has like equal access to that tool, I suppose, is a
Yeah.
way. It's kind of like a sad way to look at it, but yeah.
It's interesting over time too, like so now I know kind of like three popular culture examples of people like this. And one is the co-creator, like there was two guys that primarily drove Doom forward. It was like John Carmack was the programmer and then John Romero was the level designer. But
Yeah.
John Romero also remembers everything, or like, like offhandedly you could say everything, I don't know how much, but like a lot. And so John Romero was like another one who just kind of like would like he'd play games, remember them, remember everything, then design levels. And it's just kind of interesting that now like Tim Rogers, a guy who claims to remember everything, like is reviewing Doom, which was made by a guy like, and then Tim Rogers praises the level design, which was made by like another guy that remembers everything. And then I guess the third
Mm.
guy is just like Rain Man, which got like weirdly, like I feel like that was the first pop culture example of like person who remembers everything and reads fast. But it was like from the era. It's funny because like Rain Man, kind of as far as I know, didn't really amount to anything. Like he just like consumed a bunch of knowledge, recited facts, was kind of uh like sort of could not, I don't know how much he was like independently living his own life or like being sort of taken care of. But that was an interesting example where it's sort of like, oh, it's a guy who's so smart, he's like not functional. But then you have like John Romero who ends
Yeah,
up
I think
level
it's
designing
funny.
Doom.
I
Yeah,
think it's
just over the
funny when
years.
people say like so smart they're not functional. It's like, no, I think they're so smart that they have decided not to function the same way that the other people are. like like I think
Yeah, they're
they're
too. Yeah,
they're
it's like
putting
they can see
themselves
both. Yeah,
into a place that is beneficial for them, and maybe it's the smartest thing to do. Yeah.
yeah, because yeah, it seems that way that any because there's a part in one of Tim Rogers' reviews where he's like he kind of starts talking about like video game violence, like in the Doom review, and he says stuff like he's like he's like I don't want to say I watched every TED talk on video game violence, but maybe I will just so I could. And in fact, I did. He's like I did watch every TikTok on, but it's kind of funny, right? It's like he watched every TikTok on video game violence and did many other things to like study the subject. And but that whole segment, he kind of promises like that it leads to no conclusion. And then he reiterates after he's like I told you I wasn't gonna reach any conclusion here about video game violence. And it's sort of
Yeah.
like maybe that's because there is none. Like there is no magic phrase you can say that makes everyone snap out of it or realize that games, don't cause violence or maybe subtly
Yeah,
in some
I
ways
think
do,
it
or yeah,
yeah, I think there's no conclusion. Like, in my opinion, I think
yeah,
there's no conclusion because it depends on the person. Like, and that's kind of what it comes down to for everything that's harmful, is that it depends on the specific person and, like, all of their nature, nurture, like, environment and upbringing and, like, biology and whether like, I think it's, like, it comes down to, like, very individual and, like, cultural and
yeah,
like, it's just hard to say, and, like, I mean, people were violent before video games were around, and, like, it's easy to see that, like, trends in violence are rising, but, like, also, like, large cities are getting bigger, and, like, that before video games was known to be something that also generates, like, rise in criminal thought and behavior. So,
right,
like, think I think the correlation of video games, like, making violence better or worse, like, is like, there's definitely, like, correlations that can be made, but, like, I think if you tried to do, like, a good science version of it, you would be able to find a lot of correlations that, like, could argue it against it. Like, I think, like, at this point in the science of, like, being shown violent imagery and, like, what ages you're shown it at, like, and whether that promotes violence, like, later in adulthood or, like, a cyclical violence thing. Like, I think, like, the idea that, like, video games are a good way to, like, expose and normalize violence in a large city, like, there could be, like, good arguments made for that because, like, it's like, how else do you teach somebody about the violence of a city without taking them into the city and having them experience violence, which is, like, a very bad thing to do. So,
yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's kind of like we can't stop the way that this type of violence happens, and, like, I think, like, in some cases, like, video games are promoting it, but, like, otherwise, if we didn't do that, like, you would end up with these bubbles of communities that do not know the terror that happens around them and are, like, very vulnerable to it. So, like, because people, like, it's a natural response to try to, like, hide and reduce, like, crime away from, like, certain vulnerable groups of people. But, like, it's pretty easy to fall into, like, sheltering people too much to the point where they can't, like, defend
yeah. They never,
themselves.
or like they would
Yeah.
never learn. Like I feel like yeah, like kids like tease each other. Kids like are a bit violent in order to learn like the boundaries. Like kids, kids playing with each other. That's how they learn what makes other people upset, and then therefore learn what socially they should and shouldn't do. And then like
Yeah.
yeah, even like I guess animals or kids that are grow up in isolation, they have like no regulation in terms of their behavior because they haven't like learned how to correctly play or something, or what's the limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that like how like Family Guy can be like grotesque or violent, for example, and like Rick and Morty kind of pushes that line. And I find that actually in general, like a lot of like prolific content creators for television shows or games or whatever, they always had like kind of a rough childhood, and they're also clearly like quite intelligent. And then they find that like grotesque or bizarre like violence is like very funny to them, and many people in the audience kind of find that as well. But for me, I
Mhm.
find somehow like I find like grotesque violence or gory stuff is like off-putting or disturbing, and it like sticks in my head too long, and then I find like I wish I had like not seen that content because it's like troubling. Uh, and then I've never been able to like sort of understand like some of the more like grotesque humor or whatever,
Mhm.
or like obscene humor in like uh, South
Yeah.
Park or something. To me, it's like I just don't see what is the. But then other people will like laugh at it and they'll be like, but then Tim Rogers actually explained in his review, he's like extreme violence, like in Doom, is a form of humor, but it doesn't have to be like funny. Like sometimes you laugh at it, but you don't always have to laugh at it. But just the existence of that level of violence is like a comical thing in itself. Uh, and I was
Yeah.
wondering if because he was kind of loosely making the point that like doing violence in reality for real is like a completely separate thing that most people don't want to do, and is like it's not funny, it's tragic or whatever in real life. But if you
Yeah.
simulate, yeah, once you simulate it and you have like no rules and people are like shooting each other and stuff in the game and dying in crazy ways inside the game because it's like a simulation and explicitly not real, that's what makes it like funny, because it's sort of like imagine this, because it's breaking all the social rules, but it's only breaking rules because those rules do exist. So then if
Yeah.
you could just like murder people and get away with it in real life, it wouldn't be interesting or funny. It's only funny because in real life we don't do it, and and we have those rules, and therefore breaking those rules down completely and being degenerate is like funny in that medium. But then I think that's maybe the premise, is that some people have like a correlation causation where they're like, oh, that person who killed people, like they got it from the video game, but actually it's just sort of like they're two separate things, and some people are going to be violent either way,
Yeah.
and sometimes they play video games, but like uh but most
I think it is.
functioning people they can tell the difference. Yeah, like if they're watching a movie, then horror is funny. If they're in reality, horror is like disturbing or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people seek it out for different reasons. Like I think like it is just kind of known, like I feel like that the more, like if you have like cases of violent people and like you look into their like hobbies and things like that, then like usually it'll be like something kind of weird or like violent anyway. Like I feel like people that would commit things like mass shootings and stuff, like they're like in their off time they might play a lot of violent video games or something like that, but like that's not necessarily
Yeah,
like an
not the
indicator that
cause. Yeah,
everybody,
just
yeah, like
correlating.
it's like they could also be really into fantasy books, and like not everybody that's really into fantasy books is also taking away the same, like, the same messages from it that is like making them like feed into their own aggression more or whatever it is, like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
Yeah, I
whole
think,
interesting space.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I guess like that's why I do think it is like an individual thing, like, and it's like a risk management, or it's almost like an area of risk management where like people kind of have to take it upon themselves to know like whether they think something is doing psychological harm to them. Like it sounds like this guy, like Tim Rogers, like has a pretty good understanding of his own psychology, and like it feels like somebody with that type of psychology like could end up going crazy, like, and I don't want to use, like, I feel like in this space the word crazy is a slur because like
Yeah.
so like I don't want to use the word crazy, but I don't know like what the proper terminology would be for it. Like I suppose just like CPTSD or like PTSD or something like that, like, but like to the point where it becomes harmful. Like I feel like people would have to like notice in themselves like whether or not something is creating like healthy or harmful behaviors in themselves, but like, and then yeah, like decide to avoid violent video games on their own because they know that like they will personally do better and it will benefit them. But then like I think that's also where the issue of like culture comes in too, because like if you are somebody like that that feels like they like should avoid violent video games because like you just can't stand how grotesque they are, and you don't understand like like any type of dark humor about it, or like you don't have any appreciation for it, and it's just making you a bad person. Like I feel like if you're that type of person but you're surrounded by people that are like shooting their hands in the air like guns all the time being like yeehaw, like or like like people that like are really into video gaming culture and like that's all they want to do and like connect on, like I feel like culturally you might feel like you're not included in your community like unless you do those things or like still be with those people, because I feel like you would still have the human want to have like human connection, so like, and like that would make you a better person, but like it would be
Mhm.
the scenario where like yeah you would have to try to find a different group of people in order to have a community around you. Like if you're already surrounded by people that are like into violent video games and like you yourself are like realizing like I don't think my psychology can handle this or something. But like yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't want to say
I've
like I don't
yeah.
know the first thing about gaming psychology, but I don't know the last thing about gaming psychology. So so like I don't know too much about it.
Yeah, I find whenever I start watching like because Tim Rogers has maybe like 7 game reviews on his YouTube channel. That's his most sort of biggest output, I guess, that I've seen. He also has written like a lot of, I guess, a lot of reviews for like Kotaku. He worked for them, and he has he had a website called Action Button that's taken down, but you can find like some reviews on the Wayback Machine, and people still talk about some of the pieces he did, and I read some of them. But he's such an interesting like whenever I watch like one of his like 5 hour reviews, because they're all like 5 hours or like 3 hours, he just is such an interesting person that like it brings up all these ideas in my head, but it just the way that he like frames stuff, like some of his like he has this review of like Final Fantasy 3 where he like recounts like a whole childhood era of his life where he was like heavier weight and he was mute. Like he refers to being mute a couple times
uh,
where like he just didn't talk either like very
yeah.
much or at all. Like he definitely had like one friend where it was like some rich kid friend that like was kind of like a little bit of a brat, and then he would
Do you
just like
mind?
hang out with
Sorry.
that guy and not talk. It was
Can I
very
take a? I'm gonna take a
yeah,
break just for like 2 minutes, but I'll remind us of where we are in the conversation. Sorry,
sure.
1 second.
Yeah.
I'm back. Sorry about that. So yeah, we were
Yeah,
talking
no.
about he went through like an era where he was like mute and a little bit overweight or something.
Yeah. It's just fascinating that he like throws in those details and it kind of really fills out like the era and the surprising because it's sort of he's like a well-spoken, intelligent guy on his reviews, and then referring back to like his childhood is like very surprisingly different and like turbulent and like he wasn't sure of himself, but then he talks about like the joy of like playing Final Fantasy and how it was a good game, or like how he had to like sort of save up to buy it, and he rented it a couple times, or it just like he really just like carves out this whole era where it almost feels like it reminds you of your like childhood days, because it's like he's recounting like the thought process and the dialogue and the way kids behave, because he, I guess, by his own admission, like he remembers a lot of it like verbatim, and so then he can just like like he has some dialogue conversations at the lunch table like in that piece, but you can
Yeah,
sort of tell like this is either like really well written dialogue or literally like word for word what was said by like this group of like grade sevens or something. uh yeah, and I found like that just it really like sparks my interest in all these things, but gives me like a single person to sort of focus like the my thought process around. And then but also it's entertaining because these are game reviews. So he's literally like relaying like good game design concepts, but like weaving it into like his personal experiences in a way that just feels so like real, that it's like kind of undeniable that like for him it's almost like he's discovering like his best games of all time, but then you sort of develop like an understanding of who he is, and you're kind of uh like yeah, it's just like compelling because it's like he paints himself as like flawed or not liking himself or having this understanding in like a much more detailed way than anyone else would, and it's just kind of compelling because it's like a full picture of like a human that like no one else can really paint about even themselves because we don't remember. Like we would struggle to sort of recount our childhood experiences in a fine grained detail like that. So it's kind of crazy, like because no one records that either, or could, like these conversations between kids in like a bedroom playing a game when they're like too young to even remember back then. That's not going to be like recorded ever in this level of detail by like the exact person that lived it. So I found that that stuff is like very compelling. Uh, and it's a little bit
Yeah.
mysterious too, because like he'll mention something in a review, then you'll go on the internet and it won't be there. So you'll go on Reddit and someone will have like a link to the Wayback Machine, like where it used to exist, and then you can read it and you like it fills out like more information about Tim Rogers. And when you're like 5 hours deep into a review and you feel like you sort of understand a little bit more of who he is, it feels like a mystery to sort of solve where uh, like the next thing, the challenging bit is his most recent video a couple of months ago came out, and it's like a 10-hour, I believe it's like a film based around LA Noire, the video game. And I never played that game, and it doesn't seem like his typical review, but it's like 10 hours long. So it's really like a gauntlet to like watch through. And especially the way it starts, it doesn't really indicate what it is. So you're sort of like, am I watching like a 10-hour monologue thought process movie? Is it gonna, like I'm waiting for the point where it switches from like just him sort of in character, like talking about the game to like being on camera and being like, welcome to this like action button, because that's the name, action button. But there's never that moment. So it's sort of just like, what am I watching like hour after hour? Like I've yet to invest more than like an hour and a half like watching into it. Uh,
Mhm.
but it feels a bit like it's like a explore. It feels like that feeling of like exploring the internet and like finding weird content that just makes you think and enjoy like the weird variety of humanity or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting, like, when you come across people who are, like, very, like, intellectual or, like, have a lot of, like, yeah, like, a memory, like, somebody like that, and, like, they acknowledge it themselves and then basically, like, base, like, their community around it, like, for their, like, not necessarily their business, but, like, their online presence, like, I think it's interesting to find people like that because like their communities also end up being like mostly people that like can relate to those experiences, I would think, or like people who are like generally non-harmful. Like yeah, like I always thought like our like when you were listening to like Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, like I listened to that like quite a bit as well, and like I found the community there was like pretty similar. Like everybody kind of at the top was like a doctor or something, so like they were like older people that had like that knew how to take good care of their health and were like interested in like pursuing like a longer term idea of like global health. Like I feel like there's like you generate communities like that when you generate communities where somebody like puts emphasis on having like an overclocked version of the human brain or something like that. It's like, oh wow, like we should like herald this person as uh like a I don't know, some sort of like Adonis of
Yeah.
humanity and then like come around them to try to create more Adonis or something like that. Like
I like how too that Tim Rogers, like he's kind of focused on video games, which are a pretty casual, like not very high stakes. Whether a game has good game design or is fun, it's not the end of the world. But he's like kind of really the tip of the spear is like pointed at that sort of thing where it's like it's not like a make or break, human existential thing. It's just like let's have a bit more fun playing video games, and maybe his analysis can teach us something. Because I find that it's like what let's just assume like Tim Rogers is maybe the smartest person ever, like randomly, probably not, but like maybe he's close. And it's like, what does that person talk about for 5 hours on their YouTube video? Like whether or not like Final Fantasy, how it's fun, and an analysis of why it's fun. And it's sort of like
yeah.
maybe that is the smartest. Like it's sort of like it's like what's more it's like politics probably not more important. Like is it important that we live to 100 instead of 80? Like not critical. like for whatever, like this doesn't mean anything more. It's sort of
Yeah.
like maybe he's right that like these video games that already existed that were good and influenced like the video, like it's sort of like what do we do in life other than have experiences, and where can we have experiences but video games that we like share with each other. It sort of
Yeah.
starts to feel like it's like damn, like maybe he's like this is just what he found was, and he's probably right that like this is maybe one of the most important things is just how to design an experience to be like enjoyable and how to cut out the boring parts.
Yeah.
It
Like
feels
I
like
think
that's kind of
enjoyable, but also like educational as well. Because I think like that could be a way that like violent video games are like viewed as like a form of like education, like a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
Because like I
Yeah,
feel
just
like
another experience. It's like an experience that you can't. If you had that experience of like murder in real life, your life is kind of done. But you could like you can kind of have that experience and continue on living and almost like learn. Yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like it like without the knowledge of like the horror of like violence, then like sometimes people will like I was talking before, like it's not normal for people to like want to try to remember trauma. So like sometimes I think like before we had like the medium like movies and things like that, like people would recount like things like wars as like only like the honor and glory that was involved in them because like none of the people involved want to remember the terror. But like somebody was smart enough to be like, no, we should film what's happening and remember because like
Right.
yeah, like it's I think it's like a form of education. Like it's the same reason why we have things like war museums and like war memorials. Like I think there is like a form of remembrance where it is like yes, these people did something great for our country, but like the like remembering like the terror of war and like the trauma of war is like something that I think is important in like diminishing people's like want to recreate it due to like oh I could have such a great title or like so many people would respect me like they did this guy who is in history, and it's like well like if you ever spoke to that guy would probably say don't be me.
Yeah.
Like so it's yeah it's like one of those things where like there's I think like a lot of hype around violence and like trying to glorify violence, but like making it as accurate violence as possible like helps hit that percentage of people that will recognize it for like the terror that it is and like want to try to avoid it like as in like an educational way. But I think also like the age that it is presented to people at is like very important too. Like I'm not saying like 5-year-olds should play Doom, like the newest Doom or something like that. Like, I think like maybe like once you hit like, well, I just don't. I'm not going to give an age because like that's like probably the most controversial thing I could say. But yeah, like I think like once you're like older and like you have like the psychology enough to understand like the emotional significance of like murder, then like that would be like the age it's appropriate to start like consuming like that type of content that maybe.
Kind of interesting that whatever games kids play at different ages kind of informs, like if let's say they grow up to become game designers, like what kind of games they make. And you can kind of trace back like all the games made today are because certain kids had like certain experiences at formative ages. And
Yeah.
it's kind of it's fascinating to like analyze ourselves based on what games we played. Like there's like we're pretty close, but we have like slightly different games that we played at different times. But like Ocarina of Time is like a was like a formative thing. I think
Yeah.
like a grounding game. Like it sort of informed what we believe and expect from a game and kind of what we're
Yeah.
fascinated by. And now at
Yeah, and
this moment
also
I think they're
I
remaking it, right? Gonna do like a Ocarina of Time remake possibly, and I'm wondering about that.
yeah.
Like like will this deliver something useful to me? Like should I, would I play it and well, how would it be different or would it be interesting or not interesting? Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked I think Ocarina of Time was like useful like yeah, it was just like a useful tool for me like in terms of like problem solving, because like the puzzles are like very like long and drawn out, and like they affect like an emotional storyline and things like that. So it was like compared to like doing schoolwork where it was like none of that. It was just like reading books and like doing math. Like the experience of like solving a puzzle inside like a video game with like NPCs that I cared about, and like it was like like over a long form of time, and then like the time travel aspect of like being like young Link and then becoming like adult Link, and like seeing the impacts of like what you did when you were a child, or like what happened with like Ganon and like how he impacted it like as like the adult version of Link. Like that was like I think probably like a pretty good experience for like the generation of like people that played Zelda that came out like when we were our ages. Like I think I appreciated it more once I was like a little bit older, because I think I was pretty young like when we were first
Yeah.
playing it. But like I can remember like we
Yeah, I
played that
remember.
for like 3 to 5 years or something, like pretty consistently. So
Yeah.
like I was like definitely like 12 by the time I stopped playing it like regularly, like annually or something like that. I think.
Yeah, I remember like when I first was playing it, I would like believe like things that were clearly fake, like from rumors, like from kids at school about it. And I remember like being kind of lost, and then playing it later and even following like a walkthrough, I couldn't beat like the water temple, like it was too like logically confusing or something. And then later playing it again and being able to like actually play it properly or something. It was definitely like different eras of like
Yeah.
ability. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This might be like a good place to stop for today then.
Yeah. Yeah, we went
Okay.
a bit long, but yeah, that was good conversation.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've talked, so it's like it's like a lot.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's like not anything that we've done recently, but it's just like social energy of like we haven't talked for a while, and like these are things like
Yeah. Yeah, I
so
feel kind of like I have an energy where I want to like create something, but I haven't I can't really focus a little bit. Like I mentioned like my Halo hip hop, and I took some footage yesterday on my hike, and it's like I have a 2 minute like peaceful song, and I'm trying to write just like 2 minutes of like not prose, but just like some kind of dialogue that
yeah.
fits with it. And so that's like my challenge right now is like, can I like it's the challenge of just communicate some kind of fully formed thought in 2 minutes, just over top this footage.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of a fun.
I could send you a video that I made. I think I've only shared it with like mom, but there's a video that I made about the word like Weldenzeimkeit in German, which
Oh
means
yeah,
like
maybe I
the
did see that. I
oh
think because
yeah.
you branded it before, so maybe I did see that video.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I probably did share before. But yeah, it's like the feeling of being alone in the forest, and like how that made me think about like my perspective on like what art is supposed to be, and like how it's a feeling. Yeah. I feel like that would be like something similar that I've done before, and like that was kind of like an interesting challenge. Like so yeah, I'm if you want to share it when you're
yeah.
done, you can. But that sounds
Yeah,
interesting
I
to me.
try to make them. I try to make these videos like public. Like that's the thing is, like because they could be more personal or like a diary, but I try to work out the language so that like anyone with no context could sort of watch it, and it's almost like you have to make it vague enough so it's not like overly personal or something, but it still communicates like something.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's best if like everyone can sort of take their own meaning from it, but it's also clearly it's like working on some idea. Uh, so yeah, if I finish it, I'll put it on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll see you later then.
All right. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Love you.
Bye. Love you.